Okay, so the last one that I'm going to work out for you is number 18. So 18 has a lot going on. 18 is 8 to the 1/6 power minus 9 to the 1/4 power divided by the square root of 3 plus the square root of 2. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rework the numerator so that I can get these two numbers in radical form so that I can go ahead and perform a conjugation of my denominator. So if I look at 8, I know quickly that 8 actually will factor down into 2 cubed. So what I really have is 8 is 2 cubed raised to the 1/6 power, which is equal to 2 to the 3/6 power, or it's 2 to the 1/2 power, which can be written as the square root of 2. I'm going to do the same thing with the 9. I know that the 9, if I factor that out, 9 factors into 3 times 3, which is really 3 squared. So I'm taking that 3 squared to the 1/4 power, which is the same as 3 to the 2/4 power, or 3 to the 1/2 power, which is also the square root of 3. So now what I've done is I've simplified the numerator and put it back into radical form. Now that I have both the numerator and the denominator in radical form, I've got to go ahead and work on getting those radicals out of the denominator. Now how I'm going to do that is I'm going to use the conjugate of my denominator. So I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by the opposite of the difference of squares. So I'm going to take the denominator, which was the square root of 3 plus 2, and make it the square root of 3 minus 2. And I'm going to do that on the top and the bottom because really all I'm multiplying by here is the number 1. It's a complicated version of the number 1, but it's multiplying it by 1 nonetheless. So now I'm going to do that work by foiling both the numerator and the denominator out. So if I work on the numerator first, my FOIL becomes my first, gives me the square root of 6. My outsides become -2 when I take 2 square roots of 2 times itself. My insides become negative square root of 3 times the square root of 3, which is just 3. And my lasts give me the square root of 3 times the square root of 2, both being negatives, gives me another square root of 6. So on top, if I simplify that out, that gives me 2 square roots of 6 minus 5. Now I'm going to work on my denominator. So I'm going to FOIL through my denominator just like I did my numerator. So I'm going to do my firsts. The square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is simply 3. My outsides and my insides, because I'm using the conjugate, I get negative square root of 6, and I get positive square root of 6, which cancels each other out, and my lasts become minus 2. So my denominator, after I conjugate, becomes just 1. So this entire function or expression simplifies to the square root, 2 square roots of 6 minus 5.